Hi, my name is Gary Opedal, and the purpose of this video is to be an encouragement to folks who are seeking God by spending their first hour in the morning with Him. Um, I have to first give acknowledgments to the folks who've really helped me along this journey. Number one is Buck Jacobs. Buck Jacobs is with a firm called C12. I met him in Tucson earlier this year at the International Conference for Fellowship of Companies for Christ International. Great organization, but he looked me in the eye. I had never met him before, but he looked me in the eye at the end of a session and said, you know what, Gary, the thing that's going to really make the most significant change in your life is if you'll spend your first hour with God every morning. And so I started the next morning, and I said, so what do you do? And he pointed me to a couple of his blogs, which he had produced earlier that year, and it gave me some great places to start. Reading the Bible for 20 minutes and writing 3 things that you're grateful for, etc., etc. Well, I had been doing that about 6 weeks and just really starting to really enjoy it. I set up my chair and I started to feel like God was smiling on me when I was in my chair in the mornings doing this, and really starting to get a peace about it. When I was listening to the radio, and all of a sudden I hear an announcement for this book called The First Hour for Men by Mark Cook. And I could not believe it. Sometimes God gives us these signs and we go, you're kidding, right? Anyway, I ordered the book. I have since ordered 25. I've been giving them out to folks. Maybe you're one of them. But I really like the template. It makes it a very easy way to start your first 30 days, and it gives you a cool little template, places to check things off. I love to check things off when I'm done with them. And it's just it's a wonderful resource. But I've been playing with it and making it my own, and this is something I would really encourage everyone to do, is to, no matter what I say, make this your own. Make this something between you and God that's meaningful for you. But here's some things that have been very, very meaningful for me. And I kind of call it my 5 R's, 6 P's, no O's method for each morning. So let me go through them. The first one is the 5 R's. The 5 R's say, I need to rise up in the morning. I need to read His Word. I need to write what I'm grateful for and any reflections that I have. I need to reflect, and then I need to focus on relationships. So, I'm an engineer, so for me, I got to have these little mnemonics, little things that help me remember, and you'll see how that comes into play later even more. But to give you some detail on that, again, rise early. You got to get up before the family gets up. You got to get up before the work day starts. I'm convicted. You can't pray in your car. You can't listen for God when you're watching what the next driver is going to do. And so, rise up, get up early, set a time. Rise up early and intentionally to spend time with God. Read. Reading the Proverbs chapter of the day. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs, I'm sure you know. And so whatever chapter of the day I read it. So today, this morning, it was Proverbs 28. And then read the Bible for 20 minutes. I'm in Ephesians right now, and it's really, really important to me that I read the Bible for 20 minutes. I read the Bible to my wife. Every day possible that I'm with her, or we're in the same house anyway, I'm not traveling or something, I read to her, and someone much wiser than me said, it says in the Bible that you're supposed to read the Word into your wife. And so what we do is we coordinate schedules to where that 20 minutes I'm with her, and we're in the New Testament together, reading that together right now. And then I write. Again, Buck told me to write 3 things that I was grateful for every morning and review those at the end of the week. That's been a huge blessing for me. So I write the 3 things I'm grateful for. Then I write any revelations that come out of the readings. And then I write my plans for the day. And we'll get to the plans in just a moment and why that's important for me. Next, I reflect. And reflection is prayer and pruning. And I'll talk about pruning in just a minute. It's basically pruning my plans for the day and pruning for good fruit and to be good fruit for God. And then I focus on relationships. First with my body, working out, then with my spouse, then kids, and then my friends and connections, and those that God puts in my path for the day. Now, let's go a little bit more into the reflection part, because the reflection part I told you was prayer and pruning. Now, I've this is where the 6 P's come in. These are the 5 R's. This is where the 6 P's come in. And this, and the 6 P's that come in here, but let me start with praying. Praying is 20 minutes, and I tell you, in this book, the first hour is the best list of prayers I've ever seen. And this book is so worn out that I've actually, the prayers part is actually its own section. But in here it has God first, family second, career third, and then prayer for the nation and prayer to glorify God. And it's a series of prayers. And of course I've got my own notes in here and things that I've written in addition. But I mean, this is where all of this has come from, is in my daily reflections. And for instance, for vocation, for the success of the business, one of the things that I do is write down my prospect list, the things that I'm considering doing in my business. And the prayer I've written here is, Lord, you know, the list below is a prospect list that you and I have come up with together. You know, remove that which you don't want me to be distracted by and close the door tightly on those, and then open the doors and help me see and trust you in the work that you want to do with me. And one of the things I've been convicted about by another friend of mine named Bill Money is that we do things with God, not for God, because for God is our interpretation of what he wants us to do. With God is praying to do things with him. So the prayers is a big deal. We do that for about 20 minutes. And then, by the way, this whole thing only takes about an hour in this process. Then the pruning. The pruning is of my plans. Remember, I wrote my plans over here in this section of the right part. Okay, so I write my plans for the day. Then I ask God to help me prune those plans for people and processes. His process, how he's weaving things together, and not to worry about the outcomes. I find that where I get my fear, where I get my lack of trust, is if I'm trying for the outcomes, if I get invested in the outcomes instead of worrying about the people and my relationships with the people along the way and his processes. You know, I have a really good friend who's thinking about running for Congress. And I said, hey, how do you know God wants you to run for Congress? And he says, there's no doubt in my mind that God wants me to run for Congress. And I said, so he wants you to be a congressman? And he said, I didn't say that. He says, I'm convicted that he wants me to run. I may touch people along the way that are just so important, and I can have an influence on folks along the way for him and for his kingdom. I don't know if he wants the outcome for me to become a congressman. If he does, if I've got people in D.C. that he wants me to touch, well, you know, guess what? You know, that'll happen. But I'm not worried about the outcome. I'm worried about his process and the people that I can influence for his kingdom along the way. And I thought that was so powerful. So concentrate on the people and the process, not the outcome. Really, the only way you can do that is to stay in the present. You know, don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. You know, and one of the things I learned going through my cancer is, you know, it's really important to be in the present. You can't do anything about the past. You can't do anything about the future, right? I mean, the past is in the past. There's nothing you can do. God can help use that past for helping people now, but you can't do anything. You can't change the past. You can't worry about the future. That just freezes you. It makes you unuseful. Fearful people are not useful people. The only important time is right now. The only important person is the person that God's put in front of you right now. And the most important thing to do for that person is to be a blessing for that person. If you can figure out how to be a blessing to that person, the one that's right in front of you right now, that's it. And being in the present is the only way to do that. And then that's where I find my peace. I can't tell you the peace. Now, I don't have perfect peace. I still get anxious at times. But I tell you, I am getting much more peace in my life by following this process. Now, I want to show you what a typical page in my book looks like. So I have this page. I'm an old engineering geek, so I've got my engineering notebook here. And this is the page from it. You can't see it here, but I've blown it up for you so that you can. And basically, what I do is I write the day and the date across the top. Buck says, put your weight over here. That way you can watch how you're doing physically. So I do that. I'm 174 after the holidays. That's pretty good for me. I'm doing well because I'm working out, so I got a little happy smiley face. I really like to reward myself. I need to do that. And then I just write 1 through 10. And my 1 through 10 is, number 1 is, it's all R's, right? Rise at 5:30. Read Proverbs 28. That was this morning. Read the New Testament, Ephesians 3. So there's rise, read, and read. Then write what I'm grateful for times 3. Write my plans for the day. Reflect, which is remember prayer and pruning. Relationship with the body, workout. I did a 20-minute workout this morning. I did 171 calories. That gives me a happy smiley face. My relationship with Bev is very, very important to me. My relationship with the kids, and then my relationship with friends and connections. So then I write my 3 things I'm grateful for again, like I said, and then my plans, my pruning for those plans, and then my plans to do. This is where things that pop into my head that now, I've got 100 things I can do every day, but what I do is I ask God, I know that you've given me exactly the amount of time I need today to get everything done that you need done. So help me with that and help me prune that to-do list only to the things that are important to you. And that really helps me. So the things that really occur to me that I need to get done that day go on this list, and it's not an overwhelming amount. When I write my plans, I write down my agenda, my appointments for the day. So first hour, working out. Noon Tuesdays, I go down and feed the homeless at noonday. We had about 300 people today. Well, I'm a big brother in the Big Brother program. My little is out of school this week, and he hasn't been down at noonday before. So I went to go pick him up. Now, here's where the pruning the plans thing. I was praying about this, and God said, go get Trey early. Don't just show up right at the right time, zoom on down there, have a quick conversation in the car. Go get him early, have a good conversation with him before noonday, and then allow some time afterwards to talk about the experience. So that's the kind of thing. And then go to bed by 11:30 at night. Don't stay up late. Sometimes I get involved with things. I start working, and all of a sudden it's 1, 2 in the morning. That makes it very hard for me to get the proper amount of sleep so that I can rise up in the morning. So I really want to encourage you to do a first hour that's meaningful for you. This is some ideas.